It's so beautiful to be able to, um, to make it a reality, and especially share it with so many good people here at Skydive City. Is one of that have been one of my dreams, and it's literally like living your own dream. It's magical, really, and it's great to do it here. Like I love to do it around the people that are here. I love to see people growing and being part of this. Most of the events that I have been the opportunity to organize, you see that it's not events that are bringing like the top ninjas, It's most us, doing rad shit and showing it to the world. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the people of Skydive City how been following a little bit these crazy ideas. And I want to thank Cameron King and the administration of Skydive City to make this possible for me as well. It has been great. So, being said that, let's talk a little bit about movement jumps. That's why I start with that video because, as you can see, it was a lot of that. We were doing angles the whole weekend. Angles is a discipline that have been getting so popular in the last years. I will say in the last 10 years, the development of the discipline have gone to the roof, right? Talent from all over the world have been pushing this, and now it's way more than just what we used to have in the past, that maybe was just like the track jump of the end of the day, everybody going somewhere chasing a rabbit, everybody barely tracking, right? Now with all this talent all over the world pushing this, we have been able to develop way more efficient ways to fly. We're capable to use way faster speeds and do way more complex dive flows, right? We have been combining between movement and free fly and everything, in the equation, which is awesome, it's great. But at the same time, there is always one thing that remains as a great responsibility. That is like what happened with this group or with these groups of people doing movement jumps and all the rest of the people of the sky in the sky, right? And there is one particular character involved in this kind of skydives that is called the leader, right? And the idea of this presentation is try to give kind of like a guideline of what the leader responsibilities should be, right? It's not just like, hey, follow me to a skydive. That add a lot of things, that are in direct relationship with safety. I'm bringing a group of people with me somewhere, right? So that is a great responsibility, really, with a great power, a great responsibility, right? So that's why the idea of this is sharing my experience and knowledge from about 10 years doing this. I have been the luck to organize in many drop zones to do the same thing under very different realities, So I have been, I needed to adjust, every time how I'm doing it because all reality related with geographics, planes, and even, like the characteristics of the people make like this very different and very dynamic. So that's why having a good structure will help us, when it's our time, okay, I'm gonna lead a group, I would like for you to have a group of tools to make good decisions, right? The more safe leader you are, the more people will want to fly with you, right? That's being cool, right? That is the exact concept, that people want to fly with you because not only you're offering a great time for them, but also they trust you, and build this trust is about being consistent, right? So let's move on with this. All right, so very quick, I'm going to introduce myself for the people that don't know me. I feel that everybody here, most of you guys know me. We're going to talk a little bit about movement groups, what it is. What are we talking exactly? we're gonna relate movement groups with exit order, which is always a major thing that we have a conversation in the boarding area, and people are, what are these guys are gonna do? You know, like it's a bunch of, I will not say misinformation, but maybe if you are not close to the discipline, it's very easy to get a little bit lost. What the hell these guys are gonna do, right? Like, we're the crazy guys that get out before the belly flyers, and the belly flyers are like, why are you getting out before us? There is a reason, and in the presentation we're gonna talk a little bit about that reason. Then we're going to talk about the role of the leader. We're going to explore a little bit what is the, just like we're going to cover the logic way of the skydive, you know, from the exit to landing safe here. There is certain things that the leader should be, you know, proactive and very, you know, like dedicated to the role. And the role is safety for the whole group, you know, and have a great time. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what we do here at Skydive City. I remember 4 years ago, it was like rare to see a movement group in the plane. So remember, it was like the sunset angle, and okay, a couple of people coaching. Today is completely different reality. Today we have 4 groups.
On average.
And normally, that's a normal base now. So we really need to talk about this even more now, right? I'm very proud of how these drop zones have been evolving. We have been able to manage it. There is some circumstances that we're not going to be able, right? So that's what one of the things that I would like to discuss here. So everybody can have, a good, you know, like checklist of, you know, like decisions, you know, and then we can make the right decision depending. Remember that conditions are always in change. Right? And certain conditions, certain decisions apply for certain specific conditions that are like the normal, but the abnormal situations we need to be very aware. Okay, we're going to go to plan B, right? And let's talk a little bit what are the alternatives, right? And that's the idea for this, you know, to explore, okay, how we can deal with a specific situation. Whoa, windy. All right, very quick, for the people that, I think everybody pretty much know me. Some people, I see faces that I don't recognize. So I'm going to talk very quick. My name is Gian Franco. Release the dragon. I have a little more than 10 years in the sport. I love skydiving more than anything. And I've been dedicating my life pretty much to try to share my love for skydiving. In particular, I have a few disciplines that I like more than others, you know, that I've been dedicating myself. That is free fly and angles. Movement jumps are very related with that. I have a little more than 8,300 skydives, a little more than 300 hours in the tunnel. I have competed in a 4-way BFS team in the wind tunnel. A few medals over there. But a lot of fun. That this is the most important thing. I love records. I have been in 2 world record attempts. Sadly, no world record yet, but hopefully this year I'm going to Skydive Chicago to the 200 way, head down. So I really hope that I come back to celebrate here with my people, Skydive City. But several state records and angles have been a thing from the start of my career. For me, it's one of the most beautiful ways to fly. Why? Because it's like flying like birds with my friends. That's how it feels, right? No grips, no need to touch anything. Let's just flow together. Cool. And I have been dedicating myself as a coach and organizer for the last pretty much 6 years. I have organized in some of the biggest events in the United States, Summerfest, Carolina Fest, every fest. And that experience has been giving me a lot of different circumstances and situations that allows me to put in this presentation, you know, because I have dealt with circumstances that have been like, ooh, shit, we should not done that, right? But I call those ones a happy learning. I have a lot of happy learnings. It's not that I like them, but I like the happy ones. The unhappy ones are the ones that hurts. Cool, so that's the idea, to share a little bit this. I love Skydive City. This is my home. I have been here the last 6 years, and I pretend to be 10 more. All right, let's talk about the basics. Let's talk about the basics of safety. That is even before deciding where are we going to go with a group. Your equipment. If we're going to go to this kind of skydives, I'm talking about free flight or angles, we're going to start applying more vertical component of our flying. When what I mean about that is when we fly on our bellies, we're flying pretty much horizontal, in a horizontal position. When we start going, wow, more vertical, what is the thing that naturally is going to increase? Speed. Yeah, everybody's very aware. I like it. Thank you for your effort. I know that this is hard, to be all day watching people talk. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Normally I have done this presentation with 5 people. So this is fucking great. I feel like in a concert right now. Hell yeah! All right. I'm really trying to wake you up, guys. Yes, speed. And that means that your rig needs to be ready and your equipment needs to be ready to resist those speeds that normally it might be even double that you are used to. So because of that, let's talk very quick about what are the elements that I need to see or search in my equipment to be able to resist these faster speeds. In my rig, it needs to be free fly friendly. You guys know what this means? It means that it has to be a great rig or
the right colors and
right, like very friendly.
So one thing, like starting these jumps with you over the years has pushed me to have a different pilot chute handle. I changed the rig and I see up here you have it, the magnetic risers and the flats and the way they all close.
Yes.
Because some of these rigs, they close really sloppy.
Yes.
And you wouldn't want to fly that on your back or at a steep angle because everything pops open.
Yes, so mainly what you want is a rig that when it's affected from faster speeds and different orientation from the wind, because normally on my bellies, the rig is in my back. So the wind that it gets to the rig is very little, right? But when I'm flying on my back, now the wind is straight into my rig, right? When I'm flying on my head, the wind is straight in a certain part of my rig. When I'm flying on my own head up, is coming from this direction, so your rig, the lower part of your rig is exposed. So that's why your rig is so important to be able to resist those push from the wind, So magnetic riser covers, so your
BOC is tight.
Your BOC needs to be tight, hopefully have soft handles. Soft handles, the main reason is not only because of the wind, it's because in all these formations, we will have way more contact, normally, right? On our bellies, it's very hard for me to reach into your handle. If I'm head down, I'm pretty much in front of you, it's very easy for me to grab something. That's why those little, like these little metallic things, there's a no-no, because you can put your hand in there, right? So that's why these soft handles are way better option. For a pilot chute, obviously, a free flight handle that you have that little tab over there will prevent for that thing to get out in a premature opening and break your neck, right? So it's a cool thing to have. Boom, we talk about magnetic riser covers. Obviously, we don't want those things open and having our toggles flapping away, right? Soft handles, 80. A few years ago in Skydive Chicago, we had a situation that they had to stop the whole event. And we're talking about Summerfest, an event of 400 people. And we have to stop everything in a moment. Why? Because in one of the jumps, it was a ninja group, it was a ninja angles group. And one of the guys had a situation where he break off very aggressive from the formation. He thought that he was alone in top of the formation. Guess what? He wasn't alone. a poor Canadian was trying to get to that formation, and they had a very, very nasty fast collision that left this guy that did the aggressive move get unconscious. He have an AED fire. He land on the river, and he's lucky to be alive. After that, Skydive Chicago established that AED at the drop zone is mandatory. It was one of the first drop zones that said it's mandatory. It doesn't matter who you are. I would say for this kind of skydives, it's even more important because of the change of speeds. So even more important than maybe in another occasions. I think every skydive should have an AED. Every person that do free fall should have an AED, right? But in these situations, even more. Well, audible and visual altimeter. In many of these skydives, we're not going to be able to do this, right? Why do you think is that?
Maintaining body flow.
Because the way that we're using the wind, right? Maybe doing this is going to affect our way of flying, right? So that's why audible is so relevant. So people use even two, especially for records, right? We need to make sure that we want to hear where that moment so crucial when we need to leave the formation, right? Especially imagine if it's 200 people around you.
Gian, real quick with that. Just, even though you might not be looking at it or have the ability to look at it, you're not saying just have an audible.
No.
Just
Both.
to clarify that.
Both.
The more the merrier.
Both always. Both always. There's some things, this can fail, right? So having this is give you the opportunity, okay, to have a secondary way. Some moments you will have to, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna watch it, right? Have you noticed that with the more skydives we do, we start creating kind of like this internal clock. We know something is inside this time range, right? And also with this matter of looking at the ground, is it too close? Something is weird, right? So having this is always a good possibility to check that, I would say all the time, both. It's not one or the other. Yes?
Yeah. You say two audible altimeters. How do you use them in conjunction?
I put them in the same altitude.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
just as a backup?
Yes, exactly. It's a backup only to make sure that you hear it. If you put in different altitudes, the only thing that is you're going to create is confusion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Helmet, try to get the best helmet that you can. Like, don't be shit with that. It's your head, right? And sometimes in certain dive flows, we hit our heads. Like, it's not normal, but you can, you can hit your head with a plane, or you can hit your head on landing. Like, people don't think about that. It's like, oh, boom, you trip. If you have a poor helmet, shit, you can really damage yourself. If you have a strong, a good quality helmet, that will help with those kind of, situations. So I would say try to buy something that it have a good resistance to impact,
Can I add something to helmet? One of my worst pet peeves is skydiving with somebody with a visor. I can't see their face, especially when I'm doing group stuff, fast stuff. Do the people that you're jumping with a favor and have a clear visor. You're gonna have a focus.
Yeah, not only for communication, but also when you jump in dark conditions, you're fucked. You're not gonna be able to see proper, Like, so it really doesn't make more sense. It looks cool, but it's very unpractical. I will use some glasses inside, the helmet. Open or close is a personal decision. I like close. And free flight suit. This is one that I always get, especially when I'm coaching people. They ask me, hey, what is better? Like they want to use a suit pants, or maybe it's too hot. You want to use a nice jersey or just a t-shirt. There is certain. I would say the answer is there are conditions where having a good suit, a suit that gives you some level of range is going to be beneficial. For example, I do all my record jumps with a suit, because that gives me a little bit of range, records are very variable, so it's not a constant speed, it changes all the time, so the more tools that I have, the better. When I do angles, I just go with shorts and a t-shirt, and like to be more free. It's always a personal decision, but it will depends, like dress for success. All right, let's talk very quick about movement groups. The difference between these jumps and other jumps is mainly that we cover horizontal distance. We travel across the sky, right? When we go into a vertical jump or to a belly jump, the only movement that we're going to have horizontally is going to be defined by what? Wind direction, right? And what we call
Free fall drift.
the drift, right? The whole group is going to be put somewhere, but that's the only horizontal move that we're going to have, right? In that kind of airspace, then we will have a radial that is going to be our break off, and that's it. We don't move that much. In any kind of movement jump, we will have way more impact in the horizontal movement side, right? So being said that, we will need to have consideration in some navigation factors. We will have to consider jump run, where it's going. We will have to consider winds on the ground and aloft, right? We will have to consider free fall traffic, what other groups are doing, right? And other variable conditions as well. Geographics, maybe a massive cloud on my way, maybe a plane, I don't know. There are conditions that are always going to show up, cool? Normally, one person is responsible to decide where the group is going to go. And that's the best way. You don't want to have an argument in the sky about where is the best place to go, right? You want to establish one person that pretty much their role, his or her role, is to become a moving base. This base is moving the whole time, and I will have to get on level with that base, get proximity with that base, and then fly with that base, right? Maybe do a dive flow around it. Cool. We might find, I would say, if I have to classify these kind of movement jumps, we might find flat movement, right? Jumps that are going to be less vertical component, but that will mean that probably we're going to have a lot of horizontal component and more steep angle. Do you know what is the difference between angles and tracking? I get this all the time as a question.
The pitch that you're flying that at.
The answer is nothing. The only difference is the tracking is a flat angle. That's what it is, right? Exactly. When the reason why we learn how to track what it is to get away from something. You right? Exactly. To create separation, I have a good good space or an airspace to open your parachute, and don't have a canopy collision. That's the reason. But then we start doing it for fun. So then we start exploring, okay, you know what? Now we're going to go with more vertical component and explore way faster speeds, right? But the technique and the body position is very similar. It's just like one is flat and the other one is steep. So that's why learning how to track in the beginning obviously is necessary. Learning how to angles, I will say, today is necessary as well. I have been in record scenarios where I see people that they don't know how to track away from the formation. And it's like, man, you need some training, like really. Because, like they are not getting performance, because they don't know how to fly this part. They come from vertical and they just do this, and they bleed all their energy, and then they try to move. At the same time, someone go like, whoa, like a supine and go way farther. So learning these techniques will help you in your overall skydiving career. So that's why I encourage people, learn how to angle fly, not because you want to become a badass angle flyer, because it will help you to be more efficient in one of the most important parts of the skydive, that is break off. Cool? So I will suggest, Release the Dragon can help you. All right, let's move forward. The relationship between movement, jumps, and exit order. This is one that we always have like conversations, right? The logic behind the exit order is again related with the drift, what we talked before, right? That's why when we see, okay, what is going to be the normal exit order, we're always going to talk about belly formations, big formations to smaller. Why do you think they're going first?
Why? Movement groups go first?
No. Forget about moving groups for now.
Oh, big groups. Same drift.
But why do you think belly is going before free flight?
More time in the wind.
They drift more. Why?
Because you're in the sky longer.
Because they are presenting more surface to the wind. That's the reason. When I fly vertical, my surface to the wind is way less, right? And they stay longer in free fall, so they will drift more, right? Makes sense. So normally we should get belly groups, bigger to small, free flight groups, bigger to small, students that they pull higher, so that's why we push them after us. We don't want to be jumping into a canopy that is flying 5,000 feet, right? So that makes totally sense. Tandems, very similar situation. Wingsuit, because they spend a long time up there. High pulls, because they stay forever. Now, where do we put movement groups? Why?
So that they don't collide with each other. They have more room.
Where do we put movement groups and why? That's what I'm asking.
I want to put each in their own airspace.
The answer is it doesn't matter where I put them. Obviously, I'm not going to put them on the students or tandems and all of that because it's a danger of that these guys are flying in a higher altitudes, right? From where we're going to pull. So obviously, it's after that, before that. But the answer of where a movement group should go is depends. Depends where the group is more comfortable to finish. Depends of the variables of the jump run, the situation in particular. Not necessarily they have to go first. Sometimes in certain conditions it's even more dangerous to put them first. So that's why this decision needs to be decided by a person that have experience and enough, to make a good decision. And this decision needs to be also shared, Okay, these are the conditions that I have here. This is what I think that it should be our position in the exit order because we want to do this navigation and finish in this point in particular, right? If the ship makes sense, nobody will tell you no. Like, why not, right? But it's not. There is not such a thing as a rule. Every drop zone will face this in the best way possible. I think these have been evolving positively. Many drop zones have way less experience than us in this kind of skydives, right? So they decide, okay, I want to put these guys out of the way. And they put it in the beginning and in the end. It might work or it might not, right? So that's why I want to encourage a little bit, and this is kind of like me pushing the conversation, so we can make proper decisions when I have a group, and you can communicate with others. When the thing makes sense, is designed for safety. So, yeah.
When is a moment that you would absolutely not want a movement group to go first?
For example, I'm going to put an example to you. If I have a very windy day, like today, let's say we are going, the direction of these winds today is not that good, but let's say it's against the line of flight, right? So let's say we have very strong winds from the south. And right after, we have in the boarding area a bigish belly group, 8 people, right? Those guys are gonna drift a lot, right? Where do you think they're gonna drift? Towards the south or towards the north, right? Yeah. They're gonna get pushed from that wind, right? So that means that this movement group will not gonna have the possibility to have the back part of jump run available anymore, right? Because they're gonna have that group going over them for sure. Cool. If there is a strong wings, you don't want to get out first and too early, because your only option is going to be going away from the line of flight, and then you're going to be against the wind with your whole group, right? So in that scenario, if I were in the boarding area, I would say, Mr. Belly Group, all yours. They're going to be pushed away from you, and then you will have all the rest of the line of flight probably with your exit position right in front of the drop zone. Why don't take that? It's way smarter. And you have your danger away from you. You're not going to fly back to them. You're going to go away from them. So it's a way safer scenario. So that's one example. Cool? Cool. All right. It's possible to find variations in this order and under special circumstances or conditions. I would say one of the most important things is having a good design, and good design is the one that is going to secure the safety of your group and others, and communication is key. It's not about, hey, we have to go in this position. No, it's, we are planning to do this. Are you okay with this? Yes, right? I will say that the more you do this in a consistent way and you deliver what you plan normally, people will trust you. It took me a long freaking time to convince the belly flyers that we can do it in a different way that they were expecting, right? But it was a work of, let me show you that I will deliver what I'm promising, and I will have my group very far from you, because I don't want to be close to you. That's just like you don't want to be close to me, trust me. And it works very good. So, again, all this, for example, this proposal here, it can vary. Sometimes it's convenient to put a few groups fast getting out, different directions, 1, 2, use all the back side of the jump run, and then leave the middle run that is going to be right in front of the drop zone for other groups, Sometimes those decisions can be good. And we have been playing with that, naturally, in this drop zone. Now it's now I'm so happy. Nobody even blink an eye. No, we have 3 groups, 3 movement groups going first. And I'm like, holy shit, wait, what drop zone is this? This is phenomenal, But the only reason is because we spoke in the boarding area, they saw us doing a plan, and we're delivering. And when we open, one group is way over there, one group is way over there, one group is way over there, and everybody's safe. Boom. All right. General aspect, we already talked about the equipment. Your own skills is one thing that you need to consider here. And this is when you are following someone, and this is also when you are leading someone. Be honest. There's no more dangerous thing in skydiving than when you don't play that card properly. When you try to do things that you know that you're not ready. The dangers always come there. Always. We need to push a little bit, right? We are here to push our own limits. That's why we jumped from a plane in the first place, right? We were chilling our pants, and then we noticed that we enjoy it, right? It was great, and we want to do it again. It's the nature of who we are. But at the same time, we need to be responsible, especially in this case, because people are following us. People are believing in our abilities. So be honest with that. Avoid plans where you are uncomfortable. If you're leading a line that you saw online, or you saw of the most experienced groups, and you say, oh, I think I can do this, don't do it with a group of friends. Do it with just one person, right? Try to set a little bit of experience doing that particular line. Feel how you react, how much control you have, and then start adding little by little more people following you in that a little bit more advanced maneuver, But don't put advanced maneuvers to try to show off. That's the worst that you can do. Your role as the leader is way more important. Look at the ground. Be aware about where you're going. And this is also from if you're following. If you're a follower and you are in a situation that you are in a 5-way, for example, and the leader said, okay, this is the plan. If that plan is uncomfortable for you, there's no problem to say, you know what? I think I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to skip this one, it's not an issue. I think it's way better to recognize, and then you can talk with with the leader or with a coach. Hey, you know what? I had this plan and I wasn't comfortable because this and this, and then you can apply that to your coaching training, to get those skills and then have more confidence to go, right? But it's not a problem with that. I will say that that's way better signal that you are a smart person. I would like to fly with you more than others, right? And keep training with a coach. Identify these gaps, when plans are a little bit far from your current skill set, and then grab a coach and work those skill sets in particular. The group, be a contribution to the group, not a risk. And these have a lot to do with size. I will encourage people to keep a decent size. Like when we are doing, like fast, nice lines, 6 people is enough. 7 people is already too many. If you're gonna go more than that, you should have 2 very high experienced leaders in charge of this game. That they can slot you properly. That they don't. My advice is don't get into a 10-way that is gonna lead by one guy that have a little more experience than you. That's very bad idea. Try to cut that group in half and do 2 groups. That's way better. And that's what I'm talking about here. Feel comfortable with the group in quantity and quality. The leader, for you as a follower, try to prefer experienced leaders. You're always gonna get more. Why? Because experienced leaders have the ability to fly in a smooth and predictable way. People that are learning, they don't. So those guys are gonna probably lead you to a good place, but your skydive is gonna be always, you're not gonna know if you're not getting there because of you or because of the person that is leading, right? So that is gonna be not very productive for your job. Now, at the same time, the trade-off is that not always you have experienced leaders available, right? Someone had to take a little bit that role, and I encourage those people that really want to lead to touch base with us, man. Like if you have a question or you have, like if you need guidance in that aspect, just come close and let's talk about it, I have no problem to help the people, especially the people here. When I live during the whole summer, the angles continue, right? And it's you guys, the ones that are doing, all the action. So I want you guys to have tools. Cool? So don't be afraid, just ask me and I will help you, Okay, the flight plan. And this is gonna be pretty much most of the conversation about like the role of the leader and these steps, this checklist that we should consider, when we take a group. I always try to achieve 2 goals, to make it simple, right? To make it strong, to make a commitment that I can actually deliver, and I can be challenged. Goal number 1 is to have my group away from the line of flight and away from other groups, right? Pretty obvious. But there's certain conditions that require for me to design a line that achieve goal number 2. That is, everybody in my group, if they have a cutaway, they should be able to land safely in the main landing area or in an alternative that is a good alternative, right? That's why, for example, I will never take a group if I have a jump run that is offset to the east. I will never take a group even more east. For me, it makes no sense. It's putting a group in the middle of a swamp, and if you or any of your group have a cutaway, it's gonna be a nightmare because there's no outs there. And trust me, I have been with 32 people in the middle of that shit, and that was horrible. We barely made it back. Yes, so that is something that I will not recommend. That immediately put a restriction. If I have a lot of offset to the east is not an option for me, right?
Better be tall, be able to hold the canopy above your head.
Yeah, so pretty much it's not just as simple as, no, we're going left or we're going right. We are not to that conversation anymore. We need to raise the level of the conversation, and the conversation is where your group is going to open. What is going to be the airspace that you guys are gonna use on your opening, process. Why is so important? Because then the other groups and yourself as a leader, you can challenge that. When I finish my skydive, I can challenge, I look down, yes, I deliver. And I see the other groups over there, yes, we're safe, right? And I can do that every skydive. All right, so let's go a little bit very quick into the process. There is, like any skydive, very, logic things to do. We have preparation of the skydive, but there, in this case, is a lot about info gathering and design of a flight plan that will allow me to achieve those two goals. Have my group away from the line of flight, away from other people, and opening in a sector where if anybody of my group have a cutaway, have a safe place to land. Cool? I have a process in the boarding area and on the climb out where I need to be more proactive. I can't be like this. The leader needs to be top of his game, looking down. Why? Because there's so many times that we have a great plan and guess what? A massive cloud is on my way. Shit! The faster I discover that, the faster I see that, the faster I can make good decisions, right? If I'm not paying attention and just open the door and now it's like, panic starts and then, shit, you decide to go anyway to that cloud and now you're in big trouble. So that's why on the boarding area and on the way up, I will say there is some things that we need to do. During the jump, also, there is some activities that I need to be doing. I can't be just fucking around, because the most important part of the role is to not fuck around, is to guide your group somewhere. Cool? Break off, I put it in a separate factor. Why? I'm going to explain that the direction of our break off is very relevant. It's not just like going one direction, do a couple of turns or whatever. I need to face the break off in a certain direction for a reason. And under canopy and after landing also, I can play a positive and proactive role to make sure that all my group come back safely to the drop zone, because they are my responsibility. All right, let's start with a random scenario, right? I need to know about the winds. So I have my group. Let's say I have a group of 5 people, intermediate level. So that means that my flight plan is not going to be too flat and it's not going to be too steep, right? So I need to consider that. Winds. How do we get information about the winds? Go.
The interweb. Yeah.
Right? Mark Schultz, boom, you put winds aloft and you have immediately an information. But it's not that friendly to watch if you don't really understand how to read it. It's just going to say the altitude, a number, and then the knots, right? Similar situation happened when I need to find out information about the jump run. Jump run in many of the big airports and the big operations is very friendly. It's going to be in a board, it's going to be in a screen. In smaller drop zones, it's not going to be there. There's only one person that will know. Who do you think it is? The freaking pilot. And the pilot talk another language. It's just going to tell you, okay, the jump run is going to be 270, green light 0.8 prior, and right on top. And you're like, what? So that's why it's so important for us to, to share a little bit what this means. When we read the winds from all these sides, think that first, grab a map of the place that you are and identify where the hell is the north. Sometimes when they give you the briefing, the map is not oriented north. So make sure that you know. In that way, when you get these numbers, you will know from what direction the wind is coming. So if it said 270, from where is coming? West, right? It's coming from the west. That's what you're going to read over there. And here is going to be the intensity of that wind. Now, what is a good intensity in altitude, and what is a bad one?
Above 25
Why?
Because you get pushed a lot.
But we are moving, right? So sometimes there is a range, a bigger range when we talk about movement jumps. We can deal a little bit more with that. Like when only gonna drift is way more relevant because we can do anything, right? But in this case, yeah, we can move around it. So I would say I like to play. Obviously, no wind is great, but yeah, like around 30 is still manageable, I would say. The only condition that is going to happen is that normally when it's a lot of wind, they might move a little bit the line of flight or the jump ramp. So that effect is going to be more relevant. If they have to push it too far from the drop zone, then it's like, maybe it's not that convenient, right? But as a number, like, yeah, we can still play with it. I have jumped in 40 knots, in altitude.
Yeah.
And you feel a little bit the pressure, but you can navigate through that, right? Better than obviously over the groups that they're not navigating. Okay, jump run. When we talk about the jump run, we're gonna get first the direction, right? And this is the direction where the plane is gonna go now. It's not from where the wind is coming. Normally, what is the relation between jump run and winds? Normally, flies into the wind, right? But not always. Here, for example, is a great example. These drop zones have only north and south. And what they do, if the wind's coming from the east or from the west, they use one thing that they call the offset. So they tell you, it's going to be an offset to the east, 0.5. And that's 0.5 of a mile move. Right? So, but 0.5 from where? Not necessary. Every drop zone have a 0.0 that they put in the GPS, right? But it changed. In this case, the 0.0 is pretty much over their drop zone. It have nothing to do with the airport. In some cases, the 0.0 have to do with the center of the airport. So those information that's crucial for you to know, right? And it's not that obvious, but it's very relevant to know.
Gian.
Yes.
You just listed two ways that we can get the 0.0. When it's calculated and put on the board, are the loaders picking one established point from 0.0?
So the 0.0 is already established in our GPS in every plane,
Okay.
and is pretty much over the top of the drop zone.
Not the airport.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not the center of the airport, it's the drop zone.
So you can ask when you go to a different drop zone, where is your 0.0?
Yes, so you should ask that. That's my point.
Where is your 0.0?
Yeah, because what I'm used to here might be very different. Cool, so be careful with that. Very important. So, let's continue. Direction, okay, let's say jump run is gonna go north. We have the direction. Because what happened here, let's say we have winds from the east and they decide we're gonna put our jump run offset 0.5 towards the east. So we're going north, but we are moved to the side here, right? And then the last information that is very relevant is where is gonna be the green light. What is gonna be the starting point where we're gonna start dropping people, and they always said prior or pass, and it's gonna be, or right on top, right? And it's gonna be a fraction of a mile again. Or maybe it could be a mile. For example, the other day we were doing the record jumps, and we decided all of us to land in the student area because it's bigger, we were dealing with some nasty winds, so it was way better for us. So we were running the normal jump run, but we have to adjust all our numbers because we want to jump close to that sector. So we have to put our green light a mile 0.5 prior when we were coming towards the south. And it was perfect, right? Because we were way before our normal 0.0 of the drop zone. Make sense? Cool. Once I have the information about the winds, and that obviously will affect jump, which should be related with jump run, but not necessary. We already have a conversation and several examples that show you that not necessary. get the information from Gian from the pilot or from what is available at the drop zone. Then, info gathering, group experience. What is the experience of the group that you have? This might sound obvious, but it's not. Like when I organize in a boogie, massive, like Carolina Fest or Summer Fest or those very, very big boogies, I'm changing groups every load. Every load I land and I have 5 tickets from many times people that I don't know. And I have to gather a quick way to gather information about, okay, what I'm gonna do. My experience, what I have been using successfully, and I'm happy to still being here, because organizing in boogies is very dangerous for a person that is not prepared, is that I take that information and I put 3 steps back. Everything that you're saying to me, I'm putting 3 steps back. And I'm gonna make a jump 3 steps back. If you're killing it in this jump, then let's talk. Normally they don't. Normally they figure, oh shit, I wasn't that good. Yeah, of course you're not. So let's work now, right? Or sometimes one person is good and then you can give an extra job or whatever. But I take their information and I play, okay, this is my jump, so you're gonna do what I said, right? And that's always gonna be a way safer approach, especially with people that you don't know. If it's someone that I know, let's fucking go. I know exactly where I can put you, and I know exactly where I can push you. Cool? So group experience of the group that you're gonna fly, and obviously other groups in the plane. What are the most, I will say, some of the most important ones that I need to know? What are they gonna do?
Are there other movement?
Other movement groups, right? We need to coordinate. So that's why it's so relevant to be kind of in a good, set yourself a good time to be in the boarding area, because we need to discuss these kind of things, especially if you're leading. Design the plan, consider all this information. I gather all the information that I have the map. Okay, this is the plan that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go this way, we're gonna navigate here, we're gonna do whatever turn, but this is the place that I'm gonna finish with my group. Cool? Always having the 2 goals that we took in mind. Away from other groups and in a safe spot close to the landing area or the airport. Boom, then on my way up, the boarding area, try to be early. Why? Because you will have to have this conversation. It's part of your job to gather information. So if you're like in the last 5 minutes, try to check it out what's going on. It's highly probable that you might do wrong decisions, right? Communicate with the other groups of the load. Hopefully everybody, not just like the movement groups, everybody should know like kind of what you're gonna do. And this is an invitation for everybody. When you are not doing a movement group and you are doing other things, it's your right to ask to these people where you guys are gonna go, where you guys are gonna open, right? So you can kind of, especially when you see a leader that you're, I'm not sure about this guy leading, you can challenge them, and it's your right, because you are paying that ticket and it's your right to be safe. Cool? So I encourage you guys to take this information as well. Even if you're not angle flying and you see people angle flying, just ask them, and they should have no problem to respond. This is what we're gonna do, this is our plan. Check for multiple movement groups, we already talked about that. Show your plan to the group, and obviously deer dive properly. That's why, even more important, be early, because you're gonna be able to do that, do adjustments or whatever. And this is something that I will say is super, super important. Be respectful, man, and be positive. Like, we're here to have a good time, not to show the heavy tongue in the boarding area. No, show your heavy tongue in the air. Over there, have a nice, respectful conversation with the people that are around you. Try to help them, to understand what you're gonna do, so they can be also. The idea is for them to not be worried about you. They need to worry about their own skydive. Cool? So give them that. On the way up, be proactive, and that means I like to be by the door because that allows me, or I like to be looking and comparing what's going on with John. Normally, you see me on the 10,000 feet, I get ready, I stand, and I start looking immediately the window because I can see the plane taking, like the position for jump run. So I immediately can identify how offset it is, Then how the green light that they are promising, how real it is. They need adjustments. It's fine, it's too fast, it's too early, whatever. And try to get that information in that moment. Do I have a condition that it wasn't planned? A massive cloud, especially during the summer. Like sometimes the pilots have to do like miracles to put us in a good spot, But that good spot was created and was designed for people that are going down, not for you that you're moving. So you need to be even more proactive to identify, shit, this might, like fuck my whole plan. So in those situations, sometimes have a plan B is good. Sometimes, okay, you know what? Look at the sky before you get in the plane. It's kind of cloudy. We might have some, navigation issues because I'm not going to be able maybe to see the ground or see my line. And you can tell to the group, okay, plan B, we're going to go vertical. Because they're going to put us in a good spot, but we're going to have to cancel this, And be, confident behind those decisions. You can have another jump to do, your line. This is way more important. Don't put your group in a freaking cloud because you might have people freaking out, we might have people getting lost, and that is way worse. Now, if that cloud have a nice line that you can go beside it, oh yeah! Way different story, right? But always consider, don't get too excited. Try to make sure that even if you take a nice squeeze it line, you're gonna finish where you promise. Cool? Boom, okay. That's it on the way up. Then, during the jump, this might sound so obvious. Follow your plan. Don't do shit like randomly. People will not be able to anticipate that. They're not going to be able to follow you, and you are adding danger. If you walk something, try to be responsible with that plan. You can have fun, you can fuck around, whatever, but don't forget what is your main role. Follow your plan. Very key thing for leaders to work on. This is something very hard. Lead smoothly. What do you think that means?
Changes in speed.
Speed?
Changes in angle, changes in direction.
Yes. What else?
One thing I've noticed flying with certain people versus like flying with you is, one guy will be leading and go, all right, I'm going left. As we're flying with you, it's, are you ready? We're gonna go left. And then taking the left. So being predictable.
Yes.
Predictable.
Everybody's absolutely correct. What we want, what we mean when we say lead smoothly is do not do drastic changes, and you really need to work in develop that ability to have visual reference that are not, you are the one establishing the speed, you are the one establishing the angle, and you need to work in your own, your own ability to know. Sometimes you have people flying above you, you don't have reference down there, so it will require a lot of training to be able to know, this is the angle that I have, I'm going to increase 20% more, right? Every changes, do it in a very predictable way. I always try to lead more like doing everything in a slow motion. Slow motion, we're going this way. Whoa. All of that, it looks like slow motion here, but we are going fast as fuck. Right? And this is what I like to put when I do coaching, in particular, when I do one-on-one coaching. This is an analogy that I always put. Imagine that angle flying, especially when we put more vertical component, is like driving a high-speed motorcycle, right? You're going extremely freaking fast. If I'm driving a motorcycle, do you think I'm gonna do this? I'm gonna eat shit if I do that. Here is the same thing. All the changes, once we reach certain speed, They need to be very little variations in our body position, right? For the leaders, even more important, because what I don't want is my people that are following me overreact. That creates dangers, right? So very important. No drastic changes and be predictable. Concentrate on direction. I always recommend people that lead looking at the ground. That's the only way that you're gonna make sure that you're gonna deliver your promise. That my group is gonna open in this point. In sometimes certain jumps require for me to go and look up, right? Because I have everybody flying on their bellies, and that give me the opportunity. You come here, you accelerate, you close your legs a little bit, and then I go again. Okay, I'm good with my navigation. I can come back and I play with that. If you are not capable to do that, and that will require a lot of training to be able to do that, just keep yourself on your belly, right? Because you don't want to change drastically direction or speed or angle, right? And you want to be able to see the ground. You don't want to be on your back going forever and then figure that you open in the swamps. Cool? This is an art. Use clear signals. It's so funny that sometimes, especially when we start leading, we think, oh no, but I'm gonna point, ha! And they go like that, and nobody see that. It's impossible to see. Just like how predictable we need to be, my personal learning in this matter is slow motion again. We are going that way. That's the only way that people will see it. And then everybody have their own style, but I will say it's very important for you to try to practice your signals. Your signals can't affect your flying. Like if you're doing this and you're getting flatter, you're killing the group, right? So you should practice that. If you want to lead, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let everybody know that we're gonna go that direction. I'm gonna let everybody know that this is break off. You will find your way. So I have seen all kind of foggy shit, but I will privilege the one that allows you to achieve this. No drastic changes and being predictable, and you will be able to communicate without affecting your flying. That will set the most important thing related with signals. Be aware about your group during the flight. That's super relevant, and it's not that obvious that it seems. Try to keep them together. I remember it used to be one guy that they invite to the angle camps in the land, to the Fly for Life ones. Ulisse Hydra. He was an Italian. Very nice guy. Short guy, fast as fuck. He loves to fly fast, but the only thing that he was doing, he getting out of the plane, and he would go like, what? And he leave you alone. And everybody was like, ah. And then in the debrief, it's like, hey, George, why you brake? Well, no brake. Use no brake. Just go fast. It was like, this is bullshit, man. What kind of coaching is that? They never invite him again, obviously. But it was really funny. That was his game. Like, abandon the group. It made no sense. It made no freaking sense. I will set the idea of this is fly together. So that's why, being said that, the leader should establish a pace that have range. And that means that any one of you have the possibility to accelerate to catch me. If I'm going ballistic the whole time, what's the purpose, right? Once we reach speed together, right? And the other thing that is relevant is identify any possible dangers. Sometimes you have this guy that he wasn't ready for that jump, right? And you see a lot of noise, shit, you see a possible collision. What I do in those cases, I turn away from them. That means that I put them away from, outside of the turn, right? So that naturally I'm gonna put them behind the formation, and then I go and start accelerating, like pretty much getting away with my group from this danger. That's always gonna be, for me, have been working, because that guy is no way they're gonna catch you if you start getting flatter and fast. Cover this and cover this and cover this, and the guy will never catch you. So then you get rid of the danger, and then you can talk, on the ground, on the debriefing. Okay, you know what? Maybe you are not gonna be in this group. but it's good. Don't keep flying when you see dangers like that. Don't keep the danger close to your group. Try to be proactive. Okay, I'm gonna do a little change on my plan, but there is a reason behind it. Cool. A good leader will do that. Boom, break off. You see this graphic here? So you see that this is one example, right? So they are taking the line away from the line of flight, right? And then they're gonna play in what sometimes we describe as dynamic box, right? It's a very fancy way to put it. It's just the place where you're gonna be open at the end, you know, your airspace. So we might do some turns or whatever, and then I'm gonna do my break-off process, right? Let's say, one example, I'm putting this line, and then I'm going up, right? And my break-off happened here. What do you think is gonna happen to the all right side of my formation? This side here. Where do you think they're gonna have to go? They're gonna go straight to jump rope back. So that's why every time that when I'm leading a group, I need to consider this factor and I need to anticipate my move and put my break-off direction away from the line of flight. Because in that way, I'm gonna make sure that everybody is actually not coming back, you know, killing my whole plan and my whole idea, right? So be very, very careful with the direction. Try to plan this. Okay, at 6,000 feet, I'm gonna point my group away from the line of flight. In this case, let's say to the east, right? On break-off, the leader should be flattening out very gradually. That will help that the whole group will be able to start their process, you know, and also getting flatter in a progressive way. We don't want to go from a steep angle to a very flat one too fast. First, because I'm gonna bleed speed, and second, because that change can be very dangerous if I have someone flying above me. Cool? So I'm gonna try to speed up, take my line, and then I'm gonna start flattening out progressively. Right, little fucker? Be aware about the formation, even as a leader. Normally the leader gonna take a straight line, but I'm always looking what's going on around me, because that will allow me, you know, to do any kind of change or use it for debriefing as well. And obviously clear your airspace before opening. For if you're not used to this kind of skydives, how we break off is we break off as a flower that opens, right? So the leader keep going straight and we start getting like escape lines. Again, motorcycles. So everybody check their exits and they get the fuck out. That's what it is, right? Different than other kind of skydives that we have to get out from a center of the formation. This is just a center line and we go into the direction where we are, our quadrant, right? We respect our quadrant on that process. Oh.
Gian, that was warranty wild, like the old motorcycle movie then?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I did my best.
That was great.
Yeah. All right. So, this is a great advice, guys. When we there is, for example, some lines that we're gonna force us to go, for example, away from the line of flight and maybe go up, right, into the wind, because maybe it's a very strong wind, right? Sometimes in order to avoid that, I might decide I'm not gonna go first, right? I can have a position that I don't need to go up, you know? So those are decisions that are relevant. But in this case, let's say, forget it, I went for it, and I'm going away and then up into the kind of parallel to the line of flight. I open in that sector, right in your face, so don't go there. That's a very real danger, right? They're gonna open, because we open at 4,000 feet, 3.5, right? These guys pull at 2.5, right? So they're gonna pull, you're gonna be under canopy and you're gonna put your canopy exactly in that position. I have seen it in front of me. Wow, that was interesting. So that's why I recommend, if you do these kind of lines, make sure that your whole group are aware. We're gonna stay in that sector, we're gonna hold there, and we're gonna watch these guys open. Only when you see these guys open, you start moving, not before. Cool? Make sense?
Yes, yes.
Check for your group canopies if you can. It's not always easy. Maybe you can spot a cutaway, you know, like if you are proactive enough, maybe you can, shit, this guy have a cutaway, and so then you already have the information. This is the thing that I will recommend to everybody that wants to lead, to make it something sacred every jump. Compare your final opening position with the one that you plan. Every jump. I do it every jump. Sometimes I get mad at myself because I did something stupid and I need to fix it. I don't tell anybody. I don't have to, you know? I don't need to be told. I know exactly that I fucked up. Happily, nothing happens, but I need to fix it. Cool? So this is a process that you guys need to be doing the whole time. And this is how others are gonna be, you know, like getting confidence of you or judging you. You suck, right? Okay, after landing, also check that your group is packed. And this is very, very simple. I stay in the boarding area normally, and I see that one, I see that one, I see that one. When I see everybody flying over here, I come back to and start packing, right? I don't need to see them land, but I need to know that at least they are here, right? If someone is missing, I start looking. Be positive, energetic. It says precisely after skydiving. We're doing this for fun. This is freaking great. So you should have transmitting that to your group. You know, you can go like, "Oh yeah, it was good." No, yeah, it was fucking great. Let's do it again. Cool. And if you debrief, communicate also where you're gonna do it and when, the time frame. It's really good. Huh. All right. So pretty much to finish here, this is an example. Let's say this is light winds. They're coming from the south. Jump ramp is towards the south, is pretty much right on top. No offsets. And the green light, let's say, is like 0.5 prior. Cool? We have 4 groups. 4 angle groups that they are like discussing in the boarding area. Oh man, okay, how do we do this? This is an option. If it light winds, it's not a problem to use the back side of the runway, right? Because it's gonna be easy for them to come back here. So this can be a good line for the first one. And we call this one the famous 270. You get out away from the line of flight, and then you turn, and you finish going in the other side. You pretty much cross that center line. Cool, so all this group is gonna use this airspace over there. Second group, they're gonna get out under the plane, they're gonna go up, jump ramp, and then point for break off to be right here. Great spot to come back. Then a third group is gonna come out towards the east, and then coming down a tiny bit. Why? Because this group is not gonna be around this sector, so this sector here is completely open, right? And a great place to be, you know, if I have a cutaway right there, it's not a problem. And the last group, they're just gonna go towards the east too, and they're gonna go up, jump, run a tiny bit using this sector here. A good idea that we start using this year in particular is we decide to do quadrants. You know, so we grab them up, and we pretty much cut the drop zone. Okay, you know what? We're gonna do a cut here and a cut here. So we have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, very easy and very distinctive, easy to use. This is gonna work always, except when. When do you think those 4 quadrants are not gonna work?
You don't plan it.
When it's very windy in a particular direction, east or west.
When we have big offsets. When we have big offset towards the west, now I can't use those quadrants anymore. When it's big offsets towards the east, I can't use those quadrants anymore. Those are the restrictions in this particular drop zone. For example, in Skydive Carolina, jump ramp was parallel to a lake. I was like, okay, that's a no-no. So that limits. If we have those conditions, I will set 2 groups per load. When we have those weird conditions, 2 groups are more than enough. Maybe a third one, but we really need to talk, you know? Because both groups are gonna go pretty much to the same sector. So what we do in those cases, for example, we can, you know, partition this here, and if we have to go towards the west, it's not option. We are very offset here. we can decide that one group is going to finish kind of like in this sector here. We split with that, and the other group is going to be past that point over there. That can be an option. Cool. But as you can see, it's not that trivial. It's not that obvious. We really need to be very aware about what's going on, and we need to make a plan that it makes sense, right? And then we need to just release the dragon and have a freaking great time. Thank you guys. I really hope that this was useful for you. Try to use this in the future. Be responsible leaders and have a great freaking time. Don't be afraid about flying fast because it's the shit.